Hello, I'm Rhonda and welcome back to my studio. This week I'm going to talk to you a little bit about value. So when we paint with the different color hues, we can lighten them or darken them to change their value. And I use a value scale that you've probably seen on my videos that goes from 1 being black to 10 being white. So one of the things that I like to do to get to know my paints is every time I get a new color, I will create a value scale. So like the ones that you see behind me here. So I do that for every color, and that gives me the opportunity to have a look at how light I can make a color, how dark I can make a color, and how muted it gets when you're adding the white and the black. It also gives me an opportunity to just see the range of the colors and to learn how to differentiate my values, because your values become very important when you're painting things like your roses and that sort of thing, because it allows you to create tones in between other tones and all that sort of thing, as long as you have an idea of what value you're painting at. So today I'm going to show you how I create these value scales. So you can see over here I have my value scale. The value scale that I use is 1 is black and 10 is white, and then there are from 1 to 10 steps in between. This here is the raw sienna from the Heritage Multimedia paints, and it's one of the new colors that I just bought. And I recommend that you do this with any paints that you get. I have 3 full boards, and I'm about to finish this board here with all the paints from the Heritage Multimedia set that I have. Those are the paints that I highly recommend. I really, really like them. So what I do is I just take my brush, and I have the information on the paint written here, so then I'm just putting a bit of the color there. So I know from the paint manufacturer that the raw sienna is actually a value 4 on its own. So this is my spot for value 4, so I'll just take it straight on its own and pop it into the value 4 spot. So this way I can see straight out of the bottle, or the in my case I buy them in the jars because I order them from the States, and it makes it a lot easier to get more paint at one time. I will pop that in there, and as you can see, I'm not real worried about staying within my lines. So then, in order to, so that's a value 4 right there, so I can put it right on my value chart over here. This is why I love having my glass palette, or you can just laminate a value chart. So I put that on there. So then if I want to go darker, what I'll do is I'll take a bit of my paint, and I need to go down to a 3, a 2, and then a 1. So I have some carbon black here, so I will just tip into the carbon black a little bit, mix that up, and then I will compare it to my value scale. So now this is a semi-transparent paint, as you will see, so it doesn't opaque quite like the English red oxide does. But to me that looks like a pretty good 3. It's lighter than a 2, darker than a 4. So take that and I'll paint that in on that spot. This teaches me my values so that I know the next time that I go to use raw sienna in something, that this is the wide range of values I can get and what they may look like. Okay, so now I need to grab a little bit more of the paint itself. I'm going to pop a little bit more black in, and we're going to take it down to the 2. So I'm going to take it down to a value 2. See, I want it to be a little bit darker, I think. And over time, you'll kind of develop a way or a system for yourself of knowing what colors to make things. So there, yeah, it's darker than that one. I think that's about right. So I'll put that in for my value 2. And this way you can see them next to each other as well, so you kind of get an idea of the comparison. And then I'm going to add just a bit more black to that, and we get down to the very nearly black number 1. I know this will probably bug some people that I don't stay within the lines, but I can't help it. I just don't do well with staying in between or in the lines. All right, so then if I'm going to go from value 4 up to value 10, I have to start adding white. So I'm going to take a bunch of my paint here, and I'm going to go into my white and add a little bit of that. I don't want to go too light too quickly because I have a lot of scale to do here before I get up there. So I want this to be darker than a 4, or lighter than a 4, but not as light as a 6. Now you see, I think I made it too light already. I want to keep it a little bit more, a little bit darker, because I want this to be a 5. Yeah, there, now it's darker than a 6, but it's lighter than a 4. So I can pop that in there. Okay, we'll add a little bit more white. The other thing I sometimes start to do is I start to kind of step off to the side a little bit so I'm not having to mix in so much color. So this needs to be a 6, so it should be lighter than a 5, which that one is, but darker than a 7. So I think we're pretty good there. There we go. Let's keep going up the scale. So now we're hitting 7. So I want it to be lighter than the 6, which it is, darker than the 8. So that's pretty good there. I find I'm a little bit better myself at getting the lighter colors. Now, the one thing with acrylics is that they do, especially, I know this for sure about the heritage ones because those are the ones I use, but I'm not sure about all the acrylics that actually. I think I need to make a little touch lighter. Not that much though. They do tend to dry a value darker than what they look like when they're wet. So in this case, again, I'm going up a step there. I made it a little bit lighter than I originally had planned because to me it looked like when it dried down it was going to be too close to the value 6. So now we're going up to a value 8. Now when you're getting up to the value 8, you're getting pretty opaque by now because you're adding all this white, and white opaques the color. So you lose your semi-transparent qualities of that particular color. Now I want to add quite a bit more to get up to a 9. See, that actually is more like what I would want my 8 to be, I think. I'm going to brighten my 8 up a little bit. So that's why it's good to check your value scale, because I didn't check it on that one and then I ended up having to redo it. Okay, so for my 9, I want to go quite a bit lighter. There we go. That's more what I want for the 9. The differences get a little more subtle as you get up there higher too. Now for my 10, I'm going to go step off and keep it really light because 10 is almost white. And there you go. So that now I know what value range I can get out of my new paint, the Raw Sienna. If you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe, and I will link to all the products that I'm using in the description below, as well as some information on some courses that I'm taking for both YouTube and for my art classes that I'm taking. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.